successful, other applications, other services. Maybe you can share with us what you see is the demands from the enterprises. Start, please.
So according to Gartner, by 2013, there's going to be more people browsing the internet from a mobile device than from a regular desktop computer. So we basically are seeing this mobile tsunami happening, and enterprises are understanding it. I believe today about 50 to 60% of large enterprises have already started to embark on their mobile strategy. And this is trickling down to smaller businesses. A lot of these smaller businesses are our customers at Duda Mobile. Google has said that about 40% of all searches in mobile are with local intent. That means people looking for local businesses around them. And that's a huge number, and businesses are understanding that the consumers are there, and they are addressing it by creating mobile applications and mobile websites in order to better to attract and engage this ever-growing mobile user base. So that is what I think is happening today, and we're just going to see this grow and grow.
Guy, maybe you can share with the financial side, how do you see that happening on the enterprises?
So the banks and the financial institution are probably the most advanced in technology in the enterprise. In general, they're usually leading the way in technology. And all of them are moving very fast into mobile. So we see all the big banks come with the mobile applications. I guess everyone heard the Chase commercial that taking pictures from the restrooms of a checks to deposit it. And they're investing a lot of money so people will start to use mobile banking actually. And this thing of mobile banking is growing very, very fast. It's one of the fastest growing sections in the finance category right now in online banking.
Thank you. I would like to talk about innovation. You know, Israel is very known about innovation and how that innovation, there's new types of methods, how basically to cultivate innovation, to make it real, to bring it to the market. And there's a lot of, happening in the startups and larger companies have different modes how to create that innovation, make it into a business. So I would like maybe to share some of the stories here, what are the new modes of innovation, how can bring them to market specifically around mobile area. Maybe you can start, Rosaline, on your side.
Yes. I think there is a couple. It's innovation and anticipation. You can't do innovation if you didn't understand what can be the future of mobile, future of TV, future of recommendation for TV. I talked with somebody and we will not agree. I think in 3 years it will be finished with a remote control. We think it's 5 years. But I think it's very important for having innovation to understand anticipation, to understand the new trend, to understand technological disrupt. And with all these things, you can bring innovation. You can do innovation, but it's not innovation for innovation, And also to understand innovative countries. When you see Israel is a pioneer spirit, it's from the kibbutz to the startups, It's very interesting to understand how live the people, how live people in Miami, how live people in Tel Aviv. In Europe, it's very old countries. We are in late. And you can't have innovation without, in Europe, without understanding of what happened, how people look at the TV in the US, how people look at the TV in Israel. It's finished with the TV. They look at the TV in computer. What do you have? Which kind of innovation do you have with that? Which kind of technology do you have with that? This is global understanding, and after, it's more easy to have the labs and to ask to the labs to do innovation. And the other side is undeveloped country. They would like to have also innovation, but it's not the same. They need to pay with mobile. They didn't know how to read the mobile, to understand the computer sciences, but they want also innovation. And only people like in Israel or in the US can understand how can do people with innovation without writing, without reading, This is very important for innovation. to understand. And after it's easy. Labs, business model, integration.
Thank you. Other insight?
And when we look at the market, we'll look at least 4 to 5 years in front of the market, trying to understand what's going to happen, how to anticipate the trends and the usage. And we plan for that. A lot of innovation is going to come for that because we look at multiple scenarios of how people are going to interact in the future, whether, in their home, how they're going to interact with their furniture, for example, with the mirrors. Can you bin some data from one to another? How to create all of that? And that's created a lot of innovation because we have to think a couple of years, upfront. Because when we work with our customers, they're already designing platforms for 2015, 2016, and you have to come and anticipate and push them to that direction in order to stay in a leadership position in the market.
And maybe I'll share also what's happening in my company. We are a large company, as I mentioned, and and I came from startups to that large company. We try to benefit from both sides. We're creating startups inside the big company across the globe in different locations, both in Israel, Silicon Valley, but also for many other remote countries. Operating them like almost independent companies inside the big company, but on the other hand, leveraging the big footprint of the company to go to many, many customers. So benefiting from both worlds, acting as a startup, but have a global footprint. So we see today different types of models, how to get innovation, both from large corporations as well as from developing countries into the market because of the mobile much, much faster than it happened before. So just to share with you. Maybe last question is about, what you say about the Israel, what's going to be new about Israel coming from the mobile's presence? Maybe do a last round of feedbacks and then open to questions.
I can start. We've made several major acquisitions in Israel. We have around 1,200 people working in Israel building most of our key products. If it's related to enterprise, to mobile, to home connected home, and others. And I think there are two, I'm Israeli, so I know all the key aspects, but the two important parts are technology leadership and the desire to win. From an integration point of view, we usually see that the Israeli companies are integrated way better because people are striving for the integration and become part of the bigger company and want to contribute and want to be the leaders in the big company to help. And we're going to continue and make investments in Israel like we're doing right now because of the technology, the team, and the entire atmosphere that we have around there.
Our company was part of a mobile tour that happened here in the Silicon Valley about 2-3 weeks ago, where 15 different startups from Israel came over here. And what I could say is that there's a lot of innovation happening around mobile. There's very interesting startups in the space, and I think we're going to get to see very interesting results from different startups in the mobile space in the next 5 years. So keep your eyes open.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just something for you. I work in Israel. We have a subsidiary. I am in a French company. We have agreement with university. We are not American. We are French. Each week, each month, there is something like don't work with Israel. Don't do something with Israel. What are thinking our Arab customer? And we need to fight each day, for bring people in Israel. You can believe what is for a French person like me. I have a lot of motivation, you can imagine, to have a lot of activities in Israel. It's very different if you are in France and in the US.
It's a good point. I also would like maybe to comment on that one. For example, in my company, we're working in almost every country in the world, including Arab countries. And it's quite interesting to see, when they invited me to come to Dubai or to Iran or to other countries that I cannot go, versus other countries I can go. But again, since it's a global company, they don't really looking where the technology is developed in our Israel center, in our Silicon center, in our Finland center, don't really care when it becomes to a global company. When you're only Israeli company, it's sometimes the barrier is higher, and I know it's much tougher. So that's a really important point. Any other questions or comments from the audience? Yes, please.
On mobile technology, how, because there are consumers that
I just repeat the question so everybody can hear. The question was about the consumer, how we can protect him from security, privacy. What do we see happen on the mobile space?
So what we see is that mobile actually, there's two things around security. One, being secure, and the second thing is perceived security. And perceived security, most companies are secure. There's, once in a while there's an issue, and some hacker hacked to someone, but in general, most companies are secure. The main issue is about perceived security, and how consumers trust companies with their information, with their bank account information, like in PageOne, for instance. And what we see that people trust mobile way more than the internet. And the reason they trust mobile more than the internet is because there's kind of an overarching brand that kind of certify the applications and the services, like you are in Apple, you're an application in the Apple Store, you're in a top position in the Apple Store, Apple feature you, then probably you're not some hacker from somewhere in the world that is trying to get your password. Apple approved you. And people trust Apple. And the same with And the same happened with Google. So, what? Does it?
Speak loud, yeah.
What?
Speak loud.
Okay. So what we see is that customer trusts more and more, and on the mobile it's actually even easier. And what we see, a big trend that's happening now in the mobile is what's called the wallet and doing payments from the mobile. And this is the natural progressive of your wallet to turns into a mobile phone, and you can pay directly with the phone instead of carrying two things. So the more the value you get from the phone, the less the concern about security.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. So thank you very much, everybody.
I'd like to bring to the stage next up Fast and Cool Company, Scott, who's going to be talking about PowerMat. Any of you, if you use wireless devices, you ever lose your cords, lose your power charges and stuff? Wouldn't you always think it would be really nice to actually be able to go home, go to your office, put your device down, you always put it down anyway, and let it charge? Well, this PowerMat's pretty cool. I was playing with it in the last half hour and actually works really nicely. And it's an Israeli innovation with the companies in the US and in America. And I'd like to have Scott come on back up and share a little bit about the PowerMat story. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. And okay, great. We're good to go. I don't know how many of you are familiar with PowerMat, but PowerMat is wireless charging. And we love our wireless devices, and we rely on them today, perhaps more than ever before. But of course, we expect them to always be turned on, and we hope them to always be powered up. But they're only as good as the juice that we have at any given time. And powering them isn't as simple as it once was. So whether it's the spaghetti of wires, or the search for outlets, or a dead battery because we didn't or couldn't plug it in time, there's a need for a new method of charging. And there's a need for PowerMat wireless charging. So at PowerMat we have a vision. A world where the power cord has gone the way of the payphone, a world where the frantic search for power, is no longer necessary, and a world where powering our device is as simple as just setting it down. So whether it's the boardroom or the cafe or the kitchen, we have a vision at PowerMat. And that is to make power as ubiquitous as wireless data and communications. Let me see if this is going. Okay. We also have a strong belief that technology's only value is its ability to enhance our lives, and that the consumer experience at PowerMat, we believe, must always be top of mind. So we believe that revolutions begin with people. And because of this, we chose to cut through all the talk in the category and go straight to market and bring PowerMat directly to the consumer. We debuted in 2 outlets, Best Buy and Target, in 2009, and we experienced widespread sellout almost immediately. In fact, in December of that year, you were hard-pressed to turn on either CNN or NBC, CBS, ABC, any of the major television outlets, even the Ellen DeGeneres show, without seeing PowerMat coverage. Our retail success has continued. And in fact, we've inked deals now with some major companies. One of perhaps the biggest that you'll all recognize is General Motors. And in 2012, starting with the Chevy Volt, you will be able to purchase any General Motors car and have PowerMat technology built directly into it, which means that you'll be able to drop and charge directly in your car. It's huge for us, and it's huge in general because we created this category and now we're watching it take off. What it means really is that we're validated, and that General Motors believed in us so much that they even invested in our company. So today the revolution is well on its way. As I said, we have sold over 3 million units, and we're going strong. We've inked deals to put PowerMat into cars with General Motors, to put PowerMat into airports with a company named Arconis. You'll shortly be seeing PowerMat in airports around the world. And we've inked deals even with Qualcomm, who you all obviously know, to start embedding PowerMat technology directly into phones through their chips. We created not only a brand, but we created a category, which is really challenging in this global environment. And we're continuing to pioneer wireless power with cutting-edge products, experiences, and communications. So my time is short now, but what I'd like to do is to share with you a video, if you have it queued up.
PowerMat complete solution for iPhone. Case, Matt, I'm charging. Not charging. Charging. Da-na-na-da-na. Charging. Still charging. Not charging. Woo! Charging. Charge.
Okay, thank you very much. One more thing. I invite all of you to join the revolution, to come to check out PowerMat. We're at a table right outside. And thank you for your time and your listening. Bye-bye.
There's not a time that my 3 phones that I carry with me at all times are all charged. I find myself driving along with no one to talk to. And I can't tell you how depressing that really is. And so I myself am going to win a PowerMat today. Somehow I'm going to have to jerry-rig the raffle so that I can go home with one. But all of you, anyone who's in the room, in 10 minutes is going to be eligible to win a PowerMat because you registered today for the Israel conference. And I'm personally probably going to buy one of those GM cars just so I can have it come with a PowerMat. I'm going to buy, heck, on sale, I'll buy 2. Well, one for each phone and one to go. So, we are very fortunate at the Israel conference to have some very cool sponsors, not only Ahava, PowerMat, and SodaStream, but we are graced with the likes of Marvell And how many of you know from just listening to Marvell here, do you have a good sense of what Marvell does now? And it is one of the largest semiconductor companies around. They are our largest and most wonderful diamond sponsor, and I'd love, if you would join me in a round of applause for the fabulous Marvell folks, where they have a campus in Israel with over 2,500 employees, and they employ people worldwide. It's a fabulous story. We have our gold sponsors of Sequoia Capital, who's sponsoring the wonderful reception this evening, and the music of Yoni Bloch. We have this hotel, the Lux, who helps us and is our partner in putting on a wonderful conference. We have Blue Pilot Energy, which is powering the future with energy. We have the Toronto Stock Exchange, whom you'll be hearing from a little bit later. We have Rubenstein Adjustment Management Consultants, a company that I founded that does information technology. Thank you. And we have also Step Strategy, which is a company that I'm the managing director of that deals with acquisitions and mergers and advisory work for many different companies in technology and consumer products. For our silver sponsors, we have the only way to fly, El Al Airlines, which I hope you all will fly on your next trip to Israel sometime this year. We have Wells Fargo Bank, which is sponsoring our Fast and Cool session, and we all bank with Wells Fargo when we're not banking with Bank Leumi. We have RSM McGladrey, our fine accounting firm that is national and international, in one of the top 10 accounting firms worldwide. We have Credo Law, experts in mergers and acquisitions. We have the fabulous DocStock, which is out in our pavilion as well for any document that you might need to retrieve. You can find it online through DocStock. We have Fox Rothschild, experts worldwide in all forms of legal, whether it's HR or it is corporate transactions or mergers and acquisitions. We have Silicon Valley Bank that proudly has an office in Israel, in the Silicon Valley, and here in Los Angeles, and of course across the United States. And we'll be hearing from them later as well. We have Blumberg Capital, and we'll learn a little bit about their axis, their 3-axis, maybe 4-axis. We have Southern California Israel Chamber of Commerce. Those of you who have not joined, I urge you to join and see Jacob Siegel. Very active, very promoting business in Israel. And then we have a host of media sponsors, which I'm going to tell you about a little later, one of which is, as you'll see, is our Taste of Israel group. We also are Premier Radio Networks, which you can hear our ads on the radio. We have The Marker, which is one of Israel's top business newspapers. We have Yisrael Hayom, Israel Today, the fastest growing newspaper in Israel, founded and developed by Sheldon Adelson, whom you all know of the Sands, and his daughter Yasmin. We have the Santa Monica Observer, which proudly runs our ads. We have the Los Angeles Business Journal as well, that is always helping us. We have the Total Quant Method, a great PR firm. We have MP Public Relations out at the press desk. And we have Equities Israel, which talks all the time about publicly traded companies in Israel when you can become a subscriber to them. We have a lot of supporters worldwide, including all of you here in the room. With that, I want to mention that we're going to have our prize in just a minute or two. And how many of you would like to win a prize? All right, excellent. So we're going to talk a little bit about SodaStream and Ahava and PowerMat, which you already know about. And these companies are fabulous. Everything is made in Israel. And I'd like to ask Jeff to come up and help me to give away this fantastic prize opportunity for those of you who are in the room now, where you're going to be eligible to win. Now, here's how the game is played. You all registered online. Because of that, you were automatically put into our magic system to be randomly drawn to be able to win a prize. And if your name is called, you will receive one of these fabulous tickets. You see, we have quite a few prizes, meaning all of you can be eligible for something today. I hope you brought your shopping bags because we don't provide plastic here. So we're going to start displaying the prizes by our own technology team. And our first prize, you have to be in the room to win the prize. Our first prize goes to, dum-da-da-dum. All right, think hard. Now remember, in 2 hours, you're going to be meeting one of the most famous mentalists around who was going to be able to read all of your thoughts. So if you think hard right now, think of that your name will come up, and Jeff is going to pull one of these magic cards. And our first prize winner is, think hard, Jeff Pulver. No, we can't go there. All right. And so all right, we're going to pick one of each color. We have an orange prize, which represents what? And we have a pink prize, which represents, and appropriately, you know, you're right. It's green.
Okay.
Because we want to get rid of those cords.
All right, so who's the winner?
So the winners are, all right, we're having the technical moment.
Congratulations.
And congratulations to is Zev Barilka in the room. Come on, Zev. Okay, our second, as Zev is coming up, our second winner is Hefseva Zer Aviv, who's a famous flautist. Is Hefseva in the room? Okay, our third winner is Daniel Friedland. Is Daniel in the room? Our fourth winner is Michael Zerbib. Is Michael in the room? All right, Michael, come on up. And our fifth winner is Michael Popovsky. Is Michael in the room? Michael has a terrific company of soap in a sponge. And our sixth winner is Amit Shalev. Is Amit in the room? All right, so that means that more for all of you in our next drawing, which will be in exactly 1 hour. All right. So with that, thank you.
Thank you.
And we're going to introduce some more pavilion companies right now. And our pavilion companies that are here in the room include Marvell, whom you've seen. We have outside also, you've met Trendlines, you've met Vivotex, you've met Sidekick. Sidekick is a terrific game. It's being played right outside that door. And I'd like you to also get to know a number of the pavilions as you take a break, which will take place in around 20 minutes. And the pavilion companies are waiting to meet you. You can get some samples of Ahava outside as well. Our next speaker is quite an impressive gentleman, brought to you by the largest company in Israel. It's called Elbit. Now, Elbit is famous for making military equipment, airplanes, drones. You'll find their technology embedded into a number of fabulous other military technology that eventually evolves into healthcare technology, security technology, green technology. The beauty of development when large government funding takes place is that much like here in the United States with NASA, fabulous discoveries are made which then evolve into commercial and commercialized product. And that allows us to enjoy the multi-billion-dollar companies that are multinational, where we have with us the CEO for North America for a company called Elbit Systems. Ronan Horowitz is the esteemed CEO, and he brings to us today a great story about the company, its development, where Elbit is going, and where you will see its products being used throughout the world. And with that, I'd like to introduce Ronan Horowitz. Where's Lou? At the end, I'd like to bring up Lou.
Yes. Do you want me to bring Lou?
Well, he's not here. So
He's here.
where is he? I don't see him.
Right there, raising his hand.
Oh. Okay. Coming up with Ronan Horowitz, thank you for allowing me this moment, is someone who joined us in year one, a very famous, wonderful, the first pilot of the State of Israel. And his name is Lou Lenart. And those of you who are here 2 years ago will remember Lou's story of what he did during 1948. Lou is a close friend of Ronan, and Lou is going to tell us a few minutes about his interaction with Elbit. Lou, a pleasure to see you.
Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I have the privilege to introduce my good friend, Ronan Horowitz, a leader of industry. His accomplishments and their accomplishments bring honor and power to the United States of America and Israel. So I'm delighted to be here, and I'm honored to introduce him.
Thank you, Lou.
I also want to present him with, doesn't look so good, but the inside is pretty good, of an event that took place not too long ago, within the year, with me in Washington, and the honor that the Marine Corps, which is my family, presented me with. And I'm happy and delighted to be here with all of you. Sharona and company are great, and I'm proud of them.
Thank you, Lou. Okay, thank you, Lou, and thank you, Shoshana. Just before I start, just one correction. Elbit is the largest defense company in Israel, not the largest company in Israel. Yet. Maybe one day. And I also want to make sure you know Gordon Kesting is here with me. He's our Vice President for Homeland Security, sits in McLean, Virginia. Gordon, thank you for joining me here. So if you go to the next one here, just one thing, a lot of people ask me, you know, what are we really doing here? So just a little bit about Elbit Systems. As you can see, we're no longer a startup. We are, however, pretty fast and I think very cool. So fast and cool still, I think, applies to us. We are a publicly traded company, traded in both the NASDAQ and the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, close to a $3 billion revenues, about 12,000 employees. Unique thing is about a third of our business is done in the U.S. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we do and what we do here. We have 2,200 employees in the U.S. And our mission is to protect and save lives, which is pretty cool. It's a good, strong mission that our employees and our people really relate to. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we do with that. Pierre, if you go to the next one. Just from a perspective of a global and local company, I wanted to share with you some insights. Really, Elbit has selected a strategy that is both global and local. And I think one of the unique challenges of being global today in today's market is the fact that you still need to be close to the end user. I think some of the members of the panel before me talked about the need to be close to the customer. We deal in a unique area that has a lot of sensitivities associated with national security and other things which require, again, local stuff. And today, especially in the US, but all over the world, people are worried about jobs. So they want to see local capabilities in the local geographies. So the strategy Elbit took is to provide meaningful, local, organic capability in the target markets. And I think that's one of the things I can share with you just from a benefit for a lot of the new companies and the startups. There's always a discussion about the glass ceiling for Israeli companies. They grow up to be 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, and then they get either bought or stopped. And some of it has to do with a mindset of having to really spread and have organic capabilities around the globe. And that's what we have done, and I'll talk to you a little bit about our success. Here, if you go to the next one, we have significant presence in Israel. As you can see, 15 different sites, many, many companies. And what I want to tell you is that no matter what we do from a global capabilities, we still rely very heavily on innovation and technologies coming from Israel. And all of what I'm going to talk to you and show you today is all invented, created in Israel, and it's a business model that serves the basis of our success. Very unique capabilities that we bring around the world. If you go to the next one. So in the US, as you can see, this year we're about $1 billion and 2,200 employees. But I can tell you, we started in 1991 with a handful of people. We've had about a 15% CAGR, about half of it organic and half of it acquisitions. As you can see, we have formed joint ventures, industrial relationships. We even have a California presence, not large, but for 15 years we've been operating in the Bay Area in a joint venture. We started with Kaiser Electronics and now with Rockwell Collins. We're the world leader through the joint venture of helmet-mounted display systems. What's unique, I think, about us that even though we've grown from a handful of employees to 2,200 employees, our business model has evolved but stays pretty much grounded in the notion of, again, leveraging Israeli innovation, Israeli technology, and coming up with custom, specific US targeted solutions. What we've done is we've augmented that business model with a lot of organic capabilities. But again, the core is bringing Israeli innovation to the US, finding solutions for US customer needs, and making them custom-made, adaptive to their needs. If you go to the next one, just some good evidence about the innovation and their rewards for that. Elbit has been a recipient of numerous Israeli Defense and National Security Awards, and actually the information that we have is that the next one in 2011 is going to go to Elbit for the capability I'm going to show you in the next couple of slides. So it will be interesting to see what they're rewarded for. If I look just at the specific next one on security, really when you look at Elbit's focus of the last year, very increased focus from defense to homeland security as well. Elbit is one of the largest provider of manager of systems for security. Many of those systems are deployed, a combination of information technology system, border control, physical security, information assurance, cyber protection, sensors, reconnaissance. And the unique thing about Elbit is the ability to integrate all of those systems that you see over there, all the way from the UAV to the border access to sensors to IR, the fusion of those capabilities to provide really a capability for command controller for understanding of what's happening. If you go next, one of the really emerging capabilities that I'm going to talk to you a little bit about is the whole issue of disaster preparedness. And the picture in here is a picture of a dedicated facility in Ramleh that's used by the Home Front Command in Israel, that's used to simulate and train first responders and various people for addressing incidents. I'm going to show you a quick video from a Channel 10 in Israel that talks about the videos in Hebrew with subtitles in English, and it shows some of the capabilities to this. So Pierre, if you can roll the first video, I'd appreciate that. I'm sure we'll get it working.
נפילות בגזרת תל אביב. נזק מחוץ לאצטדיון, יש הרבה אש, אזור קאדר דקל, שכרגע
משהו אומר שיש פריצת מיגון?
אולי לא שמתם לב, אבל תל אביב עלתה היום בלהבות.
כרגע נפלו 6 טילים בגזרתנו, גם מלבנון וגם מסוריה.
מתקפת הטילים מסוריה ומלבנון כללה גם טילים קונבנציונליים, גם טילים קימיים.
שים לב שיש לך ענן חלף מתקרב לכיוונך.
הנה הפגיעה בבניין שמול עיריית תל אביב, הנה פגיעה ישירה באצטדיון בלומפילד. אלפים רבים של נפגעים, בלגן אחד גדול.
אנחנו לא יודעים עוד אם הם כימיים בטוח, יש אנשים שמפרפרים.
יש לנו נפילה במיכאל אנג'לו, באזור יפו, בבלומפילד, אוקיי? יש לנו על דרך נמיר, יש לנו על איילון, יש לנו ליד הקאנטרי והדקל.
הסימולטור החדש של פיקוד העורף מדמה את כל אזור תל אביב, את הרחובות, הכבישים, השדרות והאנשים. העיר הלבנה תהיה גם היעד מספר 1 לטילים ורקטות בכל סיבוב נוסף.
זו נפילה של טיל כימי במרכז תל אביב, כאשר הענן מתפשט בעיר, כמות הנפגעים, אם הם יפרקסו או אם הם יקיעו, בהתאם לתרחיש שקורה.
וביום שבו פיקוד העורף חונך את הסימולטור החדש הזה, אלוף הפיקוד יאיר גולן מתריע בפני ועדת חוץ וביטחון, ל-40% מאזרחי ישראל אין מסכות כי אין תקציב, ל-24% מהם אין מיגון.
הסימולטור המתוחכם הזה שבנתה חברת אלביט לפיקוד העורף אמור לדמות את הדבר האמיתי. כל הנתונים פה, כמו הטיל הזה שנפל בים, טילים קימיים, טילים קונבנציונליים מלבנון, מסוריה, הכל מתבסס על נתוני אמת שיש היום גם באגף המודיעין וגם בפיקוד העורף, על איך זה אמור להיראות בדבר האמיתי.
במרחב אזרחי לא תמיד ניתן להיכנס לכל הבתים, במרחב אזרחי לא ניתן להיכנס לכל רחוב. אי אפשר לחסום מכבישים, אי אפשר להפעיל כוחות המשטרה איך שאנחנו רוצים, פה המערכת עושה את זה אחד לאחד.
אבל גם עם הסימולטור החכם הזה לפיקוד העורף ברור, כשיפלו כאן טילים על אמת, זאת תהיה אופרה אחרת לגמרי.
Okay, thank you. So basically what you've seen is really when you look at the complex environment for disaster preparedness, you've looked basically at a capability to simulate an overall urban, very complex urban environment, various threat events. Some of them are human-induced, some might be God-induced or nature-induced, whatever you want to believe. And what you can see is that Israel is now using a very high-fidelity simulation training system that allows the disaster planning, allows to prepare the first responders, fire, police, the IDF, and all that, to do that. And that's the kind of technology that we're bringing, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the applications also in the US, if you go to the next one. If you look at this, the unique thing is it's a collaborative environment that really allows multiple levels of engagement. So if you look at the US environment, one of the things that's unique, you have various levels. You have a state level, you have a local, which can be a county or city. You have a first responder, which can be the individual fire department or police department. And the unique capability here is to engage all of those in a very cost-effective way to simulate an incident, to simulate the response, to look for holes, to look for what needs to be done. It's a very, very effective way to, again, leverage high-end fidelity graphics, simulation capabilities with computers. If you go to the next one. So if I look really at some of the applications in US others, what happened in Japan in March is a pretty interesting scenario because you really had a triple event. You had all the way from a 9.0 earthquake, followed by a tsunami, followed by a nuclear meltdown. And the ability to really recreate a scenario like this with physical means is just not possible. And what you have really with the simulation is the ability to go into very, very complex simulation to really understand what's going to happen. If you look in the US, for example, FEMA is doing an annual exercise. The last one was in May along the Madrid Fault in the Midwest. But it's very expensive. It's almost impossible to simulate all the things. You can do all that with the tool, with the capabilities we're talking about. And again, what you can do is you can tie everybody into the simulation. In Japan, even though Japan was one of the countries that was most prepared, trained from a population for various incidents, all of you have read in the news and saw how unprepared eventually they were for the culmination of all those events. So when you really look at what we're doing is we're providing a capability, a breakthrough capability to train, to simulate, to prepare, both for human threats and natural disasters. As you can see, CalEMA is, for example, the California Emergency Management Agency that is definitely looking across the Pacific about those kind of things and how to prepare California for that. But the same applies for many, many other places in the U.S. So just to talk to you about, again, how we bring those capabilities from Israel, from the beta site in Israel into the U.S. If you go to the next one, I think that's actually the last slide that I had. So again, just in summary, I think what I wanted to give you is an example of how we evolved from a startup basically in 1991 to a $1 billion organization in the U.S., preserving the business model of bringing innovative Israeli technology and capabilities to the U.S. for various things. The next front for us is homeland security, disaster preparedness, all those incidents to prepare this nation and others for those kind of events. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We do have time for one or two questions from the audience. Any questions or thoughts to be communicated? We have a mic over here. If you please mention your name and your company and your question. And the mic will come to this gentleman right here in the beige suit. There we go.
Arthur Lipper, La Jolla Light. Question, do you presently have a relationship with CalEMA?
We don't have yet a formal relationship with CalEMA, but we're working with various both state and federal agencies about bringing this capability to the U.S. There's definitely a need, there's definitely a desire, and we're working to develop that.
Good question. Another question? Well, you'll be able to meet with Renan a little bit more during the networking break that's coming. And now I'd like to introduce to you Isabel Maxwell, to talk a little bit more about your prizes.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Great conference, Sharona. Thank you. Really, just now, this is just a little housekeeping. You do have a networking break, but at 10:50 a.m., and I hope, if you've all got to synchronize your watches, we'll be back here we have 9 more prizes to give out. Please be in the room at 10:50. There's a wonderful taste of Israel out there right now that you can go and enjoy and take a networking break and be back in here at 10:50. And then we've got some wonderful Fast and Cool and some more great panels after that. So thank you, everyone. See you very shortly.